Hi friends. So there have been a few things that have been on my heart when it comes to humans and bees. And I've been thinking about this for quite some time, and I decided it's time to just say some things out loud. So I'm not going to be able to make this into a real super short 30-second video, but what I can attempt is to maybe divide it into about 3 parts. In the first part, what I want to do is address the question, are honeybees bad? And believe it or not, this is something that is a hot topic of today. Now, we can only answer that question by looking a little bit deeper into who the honeybee really is, as well as taking a close look at some of the modern practices related to beekeeping. The second part we really need to speak about is, what do bees need from us? As in, what do bees actually need us to do in the practical world? There are things to be addressed when it comes to the health of bees, as well as some of the birthrights that we have not respected or even taken away altogether. And we also need to talk about land healing, the earth healing aspects that have to do with the survival of bees. And the third part is who the bees need us to be. Basically, what is our spiritual work with the bees now, at this very important time, at this crossroads, shall I say. So 3 parts. I can do it. I'll divide it up, and obviously can't go super duper deeply into each one with these videos online, but I'll do my best to get the topic started. Hi friends. Okay, back to those questions about bees, the things that have been on my heart about bees. I wanted to address this conversation that's going on recently about whether honeybees are bad, or is beekeeping wrong, right? Because honeybees, the European honeybee, is not native to this continent. I also want to talk about what bees need from us, both physically, meaning practically, and also spiritually. But let's start with the first one. And we're going to make these videos as quick as possible because I'm trying to make them into real formats so that they can reach more people. So to answer that first question, the way I would phrase it is that even though there's all sorts of research that suggests that honeybees might have a negative impact on native bee populations, I would like to suggest that it is actually modern beekeeping practices that are having a negative impact on both native bee populations as well as the health of the honeybee herself. So modern beekeeping practices didn't really even begin in the industrialized way that we know them until about 150 years ago. It started with the invention of framed hives, hives that have removable frames for honey harvesting, and then shortly after followed by the discovery and invention, in a sense, of being able to breed queens, meaning human-raised honeybee queens, which then enabled people to create as many hives as they wanted. And yeah, that's how it all began. So now that we are about 100 to 150 years in to these modern beekeeping practices, we find ourselves at quite a crossroad with the honeybee, because even though the honeybee is not considered endangered, because unfortunately she's considered livestock, right? The bee as a species, Apis mellifera, is greatly weakened, and in a way we could say much less healthy than 150 years ago. Many hives do not even make it through the winter, even though a healthy beehive can live for many years. So, but back to native bees for a moment. So yes, modern beekeeping practices and industrialized beekeeping can have a negative effect on native bee populations due to lack of forage or honeybees outcompeting native bees, as well as introducing certain diseases because the honeybees are weakened and sick. However, I also need to mention that there's research that exists, such as the research coming out of the honeybee sanctuary where I work, that honeybees, when not kept in these industrialized methods, can actually be used for healing landscapes. Now that's going to be the next topic. I'll go into that next time. So thanks for listening. More to come. Hi friends. Have you ever noticed that we seem to tend to problem solve with some of the issues that we're currently facing in our world in a very compartmentalized, somewhat disconnected way? It's kind of reflected by a lot of modern science, where studies are being conducted in what I like to call little boxes, in ways where subject matter being researched is not considered to be part of the whole picture, taking into consideration that everything is connected. Now, on a side note, I think that's a symptom of one of those deep lies within our soul that we are not connected, that we don't belong, but we'll keep that for another day. So we have the tendency to look at the problems that we're facing, or I could say the things that want to be transformed, in a way, that again doesn't take the whole picture into account. And this is what's happening with that whole subject of, or that question, if honeybees are bad or is beekeeping wrong. And like I said in the last video, industrialized, conventional beekeeping methods can have and have had a pretty detrimental effect on honeybee health, as well as, native populations of bees and so on. But today I just want to bring something else to our attention. Some of this problem solving that we're doing and looking at it in these compartmentalized ways are really leading us to be missing the big picture. Like, what is it that we really ought to be focusing on? So the two things to focus on, in my opinion, when it comes to this particular subject, is not whether the honeybee is bad, fundamentally bad, and shouldn't be here because she's not native. But one, the effects of industrialized beekeeping, something that we really need to take a look at. Just as much as we need to be taking a look at our farming practices, right? Conventional or pesticide-based farming, things that degrade the soil, right? So these methods are no different in the world of bees. They need to be looked at and transformed. And then the second thing is big picture thinking when it comes to the restoration of land. We can argue all day in this realm of scarcity of who is taking food from who when there's not enough food to go around. When the land is degraded, then of course there isn't enough forage. But like I said in my previous video, we actually have research that strongly suggests that bees, or stinging insects of all kinds, can be used or are useful in healing the land and bringing back plant life. So this is where the earth healing and sanctuary work comes in. to take a bigger picture approach and to focus on healing the land so that there's room for everyone. And yeah, that's where I find myself, is in that world. And the bees can be our helpers. Honeybees are so useful for so many things physically when it comes to the land, and also our understanding of it. Like, it's, in a way, they can be a true guide. A true guide. So leave it at that for today. Thank you for watching. Hi friends. So just to summarize, are honeybees bad? No, honeybees are not inherently bad, even though they're not native. It's industrialized beekeeping methods that are harmful to both the honeybee and native bee and insect populations. The second question was, what does the honeybee need from us physically and practically? And the answer to that is twofold. First of all, bee tending methods that respect the honeybee's birthrights so that the honeybee can adapt, evolve, and recover as a species. And secondly, of course, the creation of sanctuary, meaning earth healing and ecosystem restoration. So that's that's the physical piece. And then I will leave the last question, which was what the honeybee needs from us spiritually, for another day. Maybe I'll say this. What the honeybee needs from us spiritually is for us to remember the unseen world.